Hey there folks, Nick here, welcome back to the channel. We've got a new game for you today. New video every day, but new game for you today. This is the Golf Club 2019. And I got this game about a week ago. I played it for about 4 hours. Got through the first couple of rounds. Got myself onto the PGA Tour, I guess. And here we are in the final round of this course here. I'm not in front of my computer now to see which course it is, but you can see it, and we're about to get into the round of golf. But today, being a voiceover, I'm back in the studio, and I am going to be reading some stories from r/pettyrevenge. Another beautiful Reddit story for you. This one here is submitted by Reddit user Big Busty Coon, and is titled, "It Was on the Syllabus. Let us show you." So anyway, the characters are MW is Ms. W, and me is me, as it usually is. Where to begin? So back in my middle school days, my class and I had this teacher, we'll call her Mrs. W, who frankly was a bitch, and everyone in my grade hated her. On the first day of school, I remember her yelling at me for coming in with headphones on and sent me to the principal's office for, quote, disrespecting the teacher. And I didn't even say anything. Anyway, now that you know who we're dealing with, on to the petty revenge. On the same day, Ms. W gave the whole class a class syllabus, basically a piece of paper with classroom rules and some resources we'll need. When Ms. W read the syllabus to the entire class, she had very specific rules, like colour every page in your notebook. We had class notebooks. And never eat gum during classroom hours. And more rules like that. I don't know why she wrote the rules like that, but that's what she did. After the day ends, I make my plans. If she wants to be an asshole, I'll be petty. The next day rolls around and Miss W's class starts. I go in 5 minutes before the bell and take out my gum and begin to chew as loud as I can to grab the attention of Miss W. It works. Miss W. Excuse me, young man. What do you think you're doing? Me. Chewing gum. Why? Chewing gum is not allowed in this class. She begins to raise her voice. Actually, I am allowed. I show her our syllabus and point at the rule. It clearly stated never to eat gum during classroom hours. I've still got 2 minutes left, miss. MW is angry, and I mean angry, that one of her students had made a fool of her. She says nothing, and the class runs as normal. One thing I forgot to note is that every month on a date, she would perform a notebook check, which basically is her grading all the work you did, neatness, and colour. At this time, I had made some friends, and they'd caught on with my revenge and begun to do the most pettiest things on her as well. A day before the notebook check, my friends and I begin to just colour in the corners of our notebook papers, as the syllabus's rule was not specific on the amount of colour needed on a page, so a shitty colouring job later we turned in our notebooks. The 0 on the assignment was worth it. We do more petty things just to annoy her, like sharpening our pencils in our loud as frig pencil sharpener during her class lectures. Later in the year, she left for unrelated terms, I believe for medical problems. We had a substitute for the rest of the year. All in all, was I an asshole kid? Yes. Am I sorry? No. Thank you for reading. P.S. Here's a little P.S. at the end here. For anyone wondering, I did get sent to the office and got in trouble most of the time. Who were they going to believe? Some asshole kid or a trusted worker who'd worked in the school district for 25 years. Our next story for today comes from Reddit user Lofo and is titled, "Make me lose an entire day of school after missing a week because I don't agree with your political views. I'll make your life a living hell." And it's from Petty Revenge as well. Some background. I was 12, just turned 13, and I'd just gotten back from being sick for a week. I'm not far right, but I believe you should support the president no matter who you voted for, and that's what I told a girl sitting at my table when the subject of politics came up. My school has all of the middle school in one room, and we all share tables. The girl was Muslim, which I'm fine with. I have several Muslim friends. She asked me what I believed, and I told her I had some false facts. She was a little peeved, but respected my right to hold my opinion. She ended up leaving early, and I thought that was the end of it. This was on Friday. On Monday after lunch, I had a note dropped on my desk by Snobby Girl, SG. Let me tell you some background on Snobby Girl. She has laughed and made fun of the autistic girl in our class and ostracised her. She's also the kind of entitled kid that thinks everyone is below her anyways. Let's get on to the conversation. She was sitting at the table directly behind me, and the note called me racist. I will also point out that this story has very few periods in it, so if it sounds a lot like run-on sentences, it is. So the snobby girl gives me a snobby look. Me, what's this? Snobby girl,
We're calling you out.
I'm sorry, what?
You're a racist.
All of a sudden everything clicked. She was best friends with the Muslim girl, and she vented to stupid girl, what's her name? Snobby girl. And I like to laugh at my problems and make a joke out of them. Me, smiling. This is cute. I'm going to put it on my mirror to look at every morning.
Well, it's true.
I turn back around and go back to working when 2 seconds later, another note dropped on my desk talking about how I said a percentage of Muslims were terrorists, but I don't mind having Muslim friends, which were my exact words when the Muslim girl asked if I believed all Muslims were terrorists on Friday. And the note said, and I quote, "No percentage of any people are terrorists." Me, what's with the notes? By this time, one of my friends had walked up. Snobby girl berating my friend.
Do you side with him? Because if you do, then you're also a racist.
Me taking my friend aside. Don't engage, just walk away. I'll tell you later. My friend walked away and I went back to work for the rest of the day, listening to Snobby girl loudly badmouth me to her friends. Later I told my friend what happened and my mum walked into my room while texting the friend and told me she found the notes in my pocket while doing laundry. She then called the school. Next day comes around, things are normal until my teacher, T, tells me to follow her to another room. So I do. And she just asks questions, trying to understand my point of view on the whole situation. I'm not good under stress, and I'm visibly panicked. Then teacher leaves and brings back Snobby girl, Muslim girl, and 4 other girls that Snobby girl badmouthed me to, and to their effing parents. Then I explain my side of the story. Then Muslim girl explains her side, almost identical, except the parts I couldn't remember. She filled in. The meeting ends, then I talk to Muslim girl in the hallway. Me, I'm sorry, I don't care about this, but... Muslim girl cuts me off.
Me neither. I told Snobby girl not to write the notes. I even tried telling her to shut up.
So, are we cool?
Yeah, we're fine.
I walk back to class and continue to work for 5 minutes before a field trip. After the field trip, we go... like I said, run on sentences. This person needs to learn some serious punctuation. I walk back to class and continue to work for 5 minutes before a field trip. After the field trip, we go into another meeting where Muslim girl explains what I got wrong on Friday about Muslim culture, and then I apologised and took responsibility for the false info getting dirty looks from Snobby girl the whole time. When teacher explains to the unrelated girls that they should check the facts they hear from others, just as I should have, which I agreed with. We went back to class, but I never got an apology from Snobby girl, and that was that for a few months, until a rumour goes around about another girl in the class was accused of sharing the address of another guy in the class. So I knew that Snobby girl was sitting at the table next to me, so I tell my friends loudly, "You know, you'd be lucky that it was only the stalker." I actually don't know what just happened. This story took a turn, but I'm going to continue. I then walk my friends through how to learn someone's address from just knowing the person's name. Snobby girl freaks the hell out, eyes wide and fearing for her safety. The same friend who I told to walk away, I'll call him F, starts talking about me getting Snobby girl's address and selling it on the black market. Everyone in my class knows I know how to do that stuff. I don't really, I just scare people with it. About a week later, I had to take notes on mould for a report. Then we switched notes with other classmates and my handwriting is atrocious and I constantly have to redo papers because of it. I had to give my notes to Snobby girl, so I did about 10 minutes later. Snobby girl comes up to me telling me quite rudely,
I can't read these.
Okay, why is that my problem?
You need to redo these.
Why?
Otherwise, I'll fail.
Snobby girl throws the notes at me and walks away, so I redo them in nice handwriting but make them as vague as I could and put no sources. A rule was we could not look up any other info besides the notes. She failed, so a moral of the story is you should always apologise, bitch. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I feel I got petty but justifiable revenge on someone who needed to be ripped back to reality. Lofo, learn some fucking punctuation, mate. These run-on sentences are ridiculous. Other than that, learn to also keep a story going. I mean, that story changed halfway through from one thing to another thing that was completely unrelated. I didn't enjoy that one. But we'll move on to the next one. This one is submitted by Kookabanus and is titled Bubbleheads, Bubble Cars and Diesel. And I have a feeling this one is from Australia. So, g'day. I just got home from this happening. Dropped my son off to school this morning, and on the way home, I stopped by the service station to fill up my ute. Pickup truck for you Americans. I have a ute myself. If I remember, I'll put a picture up of it here. My truck is a thirsty beast. Don't call it a truck, mate. It's a ute. My truck is a thirsty beast with a long-range tank, so I get to stand around for a while it fills. I would actually like to get one of those long-range tanks for my ute. They take about 130 litres. I think that's about, 40 gallons? 30 gallons? Something like that. Back to the story. A young lady, young 20s by my guess, pulled in on the other side of the Bowser. She was driving one of those small bubble-type cars, all overpowered, underweight and underbraked. That young girl seemed to love so much. She hopped out, opened the fuel cap and grabbed the green hose. The diesel hose. From the Bowser. Now, most petrol cars these days have a certain size hole to prevent you from putting the wrong fuel type in by accident. And I'm 99% sure her vehicle did not run on diesel, but it fit into her car just fine. So I thought I had better point out a possible mistake. Now, actually, I will point out something here. I have had a car before. Actually, a lot of older cars had, especially cars that took super or what would it have been called? Leaded petrol. I had a Volvo and a BMW back in the day that both took leaded petrol when they were made, and they had an enormous hole for the fuel Bowser to go into, which, you'd certainly have no trouble putting a diesel pump head nozzle in there. So I could see how this could happen if you had an older car, but I don't imagine that newer cars would have odd-sized nozzles. Anyway, let's get back to the story. Me, excuse me, miss. Her.
I have a boyfriend.
Me. Okay, that's nice. I just wanted to tell you.
No, I have a boyfriend. Leave me alone.
Okay. I just hope you know what you're doing there. She quickly finished filling her tank and went to pay. I noticed an exchange between her and the cashier also. She then stormed back out to her car, glared at me and drove off. She made it around 50 metres down the road before her car rolled to a stop. Yep, looks like it wasn't a diesel after all. I gave her a cheery wave as I drove past. I sure hope her boyfriend knows how to fix it. I'm sorry. This is hilarious. You could have, you silly woman, you could have avoided what I presume is going to be a good couple of grand cost to fix. You've got to flush out the fuel lines, you've got to change the fuel filter, potentially damage the fuel pump, possibly damage some injectors. There's a lot of work involved in cleaning out a fuel system that you've put the wrong fuel into. Good luck, dear. I really do hope your boyfriend knows how to fix cars, because he's going to be fixing this one for at least a couple of weekends. Our final story for today is a short one, only a single page printed out, and is submitted by Reddit user ZD Cole, and is titled, Stop Stealing My Chewing Gum. Alright, so here's a short one. I have dermatophagia. It's a compulsive disorder which compels you to chew/eat your nails and the skin around the tips of your fingers until they bleed. It's pretty gruesome, and I've brought it up in therapy. CBT didn't really help, so I had to find my own coping methods. I came up with 2. Number 1, chewing gum, to keep my teeth busy and away from my fingers. Number 2, this disgusting, incredibly bitter substance nail biters use to quit the habit. You dip your fingers into it and it coats them in this foul-tasting oil which makes your nails taste absolutely repulsive. The idea is that whenever you bite them, the taste makes you stop. The only flaw with this one is that I'm not a nail biter. I have a compulsion, and compulsions don't care about taste, so this substance largely went unused as it didn't stop me, until I found a better use for it. Devil emoji. I buy those $2 pots of chewing gum rather than the smaller packs, and I have a habit of leaving them around the house. I'm the only one in my family who buys chewing gum, and I've made it clear to my brother and parents that if I don't have it, I'll literally rip my fingertips apart with my teeth until they bleed. The thing about thieves, though, is that they're inconsiderate of other people's feelings. I noticed that my chewing gum started to go missing. I figured I'd just misplaced it at first, until the pots started to disappear off my desk. A week later, they'd turn up empty in the kitchen bin. This annoyed me. The pots aren't cheap, they're £2. I work part-time as a waiter and measure every financial transaction in minutes worked. I make £7 an hour. 2 divided by 7 is 1 over 3.5. 1 hour divided by 3.5 is 17.14 minutes. That might not sound like a lot, but when I'm at work, it sure damn feels like it. That's a good way of thinking about your financial situation. When you're purchasing something, work out how much it costs you per hour to buy that thing. So if you're looking at, a new car and you go, that's going to take me, 800 hours of work to buy that car. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to you? I don't know. Anyway, that's just an aside. So I hatched a plan. I bought a pot of chewing gum, emptied most of them out into another container, and dipped the remaining pieces in that disgusting anti-nail biting oil. I then left the contaminated pot on the kitchen table. A few hours later, I'm upstairs watching season 2 of The Punisher. Rest in peace, Marvel Netflix. And I hear retching noises coming from the kitchen, followed by an exclamation of, "What the f*** is wrong with these?" from my mother, as well as a series of spitting noises. I grin, a shit-eating grin. My chewing gum no longer goes missing. Devil emoji. That brings us to the end of this episode, I think. Do we have time for one more? I reckon we got time for one more. Let's do another one. I got another short one here. This one is submitted by Reddit user Winter Solstice, and is titled, "My One and Only Time I Hit Someone in the Nuts and Enjoyed It." This will be a good one for the final one. It's still a petty revenge story, and I'm looking forward to it. My first post ever. Not sure if I should be posting it here, but here goes. Really excited. By the way, I'm on mobile and all the other nonsense that everyone says at the start of these. This was when I was really young, around 5 or 6. I was sending invitations to friends in primary school for my birthday party, and I gave one to cousin 1. An incident occurred where she got upset at me and tore the invitation up in front of me. I had the birthday party without her, and soon after, another one of my cousins, cousin 2, was having his own party. Our birthdays are very close, and it's a trend for them to hire a bouncy castle. I was there early at their house, just having some fun in the bouncy castle, and more kids started joining as families started to gather. Cousin 1 arrived with her older brother. He's an asshole. Never liked him. Bullies me and the younger kids because we're vulnerable. Cousin 1 avoids me, but her brother was upset I didn't invite him to my birthday party, which I would never because he's an asshole. So he decided to pounce on top of me, and I'm stuck laying on the bouncing castle with him straddling me. He's screaming at me for not inviting him, and I couldn't put a single word in. If I did, I would have said cousin 1 ripped the invitation up so you couldn't be invited, but no, he didn't let me. I'm starting to get upset, wanted to remove myself from the situation, so I decided to get up by lifting my legs upwards. Little me didn't know what balls were, but I hit them pretty hard. I ran off crying and laughing at the same time, hearing his screams of agony. It felt pretty good. TLDR, cousin gets upset at me, rips up my birthday invitation. I meet cousin's brother and he yells at me for not inviting him while pinning me down. I try and get up, but I try to get up, but accidentally hit him in the crotch. Fantastic story. As a man, I getting hit in the nuts freaking sucks. There's nothing quite like it. Any woman who says childbirth is the most painful thing a human can endure hasn't been kicked in the nuts, presumably. But that brings us to the end of this episode, guys. I am going to leave it here. I hope you enjoyed the Golf Club 2019 footage in the background. I think it's a little bit more relaxing than the cricket stuff in the background, and that's what I'll be using for my Reddit stories henceforth. I'm going to do my best to try and get one of these out a week. If you want more, smash like on this video, hit subscribe, leave me a comment telling me you want a whole bunch more Reddit stories, and I'll do them. I've got this beautiful studio here. The sound is pretty good. I'm happy to keep recording them if you guys are happy to keep watching them. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As I said before, hit like, hit subscribe. I will see you again tomorrow with more Jazz Club.